Welcome to the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, where we break down Bendis' iconic run on Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 through 160, in Earth 1610. I'm Zach, and joining me today
I can't wait to hear what my nickname is for the week.
Oh, it's not a good one.
What is it, Zach?
I'm Zach, and joining me today is a complete unknown.
Wow. Why is that? Where'd that come from?
I couldn't think of what to call you. I am running out of these. And then I saw a commercial for the Bob Dylan movie.
Is that what that's called?
Yes.
The complete unknown?
A complete unknown. It's from the lyrics of Like a Rolling Stone.
Interesting. You know what that makes me think of is, I think that they made a Billy Joel movie and they like weren't allowed to like use the words Billy Joel or like any of his songs in the movie or something like that because of like copyright. So they like couldn't call it anything that, dude, oh man, I swear my brain is just starting to go. Just start telling stories that you have no idea what they are.
Are you up on this like Robbie Williams thing? Or whatever his name is? Exactly. So he's like a British singer that no one in America has ever heard of. And they made this big, like, high budget movie where he's a chimp. He's like a singing chimpanzee. And everyone in the UK is like, oh yeah, it's Robbie Williams. And everyone in America is like, who is this guy and why'd they make him a chimp? And it flopped hard.
Wow. I've never heard of that or heard of that guy, so it doesn't surprise me.
Out right now. I keep seeing the ads for it, and everyone online is dunking on this movie, even though none of us have seen it.
Wow, I'll have to look this up. Okay, I looked up the Billy Joel biopic movie, and this is what it says. A Billy Joel biopic called Piano Man has been greenlit, but no rights for Joel's music, name, or likeness were granted.
So how do they do that?
That'll be a good one.
Is his name like Bill Joe or something? Like, what do they know? Do they just try and get as close as they can?
Yeah.
Have I told you my Billy Joel is my uncle's godfather?
I don't think you've ever told me that.
Yeah, it's the same uncle that I've told you about before that has like Picassos in his basement.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's the uncle that we have to rob. Didn't we say?
I don't know, and if I have any family listening, I hope I don't have family listening to this podcast. We're not going to do it.
Yeah, we're not going to do it.
Anyways, so it's been a while for us. The listeners wouldn't know this. We hung out immediately after recording 2 weeks ago and then skipped a week for the Super Bowl. So do we want to talk about that? We had a pretty good time.
Sure.
That day in Indy.
We did. Zach and I and his wife and cousin went out and got hammered.
And Alyssa was there too.
Sorry, Alyssa.
Yeah. It was fun. We hit some golf balls. We went to a barcade. We had some ramen.
That was really good.
The ramen?
I've been thinking about it ever since.
I know, dude. She's like getting me into all this Asian food that I'd never tried before.
Yep.
And then last weekend, you were in Michigan watching the Super Bowl.
What a disappointment.
You didn't like it?
This is just such a bad game.
It was a bad game.
Oh, let's see whose prediction was better. Well, yours was better because you said the Eagles were going to win and I said the Chiefs were going to win. So yours was better.
Well, there we go.
Okay.
How much money did you lose on it?
If anyone's keeping track, Zach's prediction was better this year. We've probably had a couple Super Bowls. I think we've had 3 Super Bowls now at this point since we've been doing this, right?
Yep.
So that'd be interesting to know whose predictions, who's winning this. How much money did I lose, Zach? I lost, dude. Okay, first off, money's all relative, and and you know, I don't have the same responsibilities that a lot of other people would have. So
a lot.
So it doesn't really, right? I have money that I've won. It's all in my, anyway, I lost $267 on the game.
Okay. That's not bad.
No, definitely not, dude. Not as much as I, lost on the Lions versus the Commanders a couple weeks before that.
Dude, I have a degenerate in my main fantasy league who...
Yeah, Zach, you've got a degenerate in your Spider-Man fantasy league, too.
This guy was mad at the coin toss because he lost $500 on the coin toss.
I never do that.
He is like the biggest Eagles fan. His team won the Super Bowl. His favorite player won Super Bowl MVP. And he still was the big loser for the night because of the coin toss.
That type of stuff. Yeah. That's too bad.
Yeah.
But see, mine were really... Had Dallas Goedert, this is like the most degenerate thing I've read. Had Dallas Goedert caught like one more pass for like 10 more yards, right? My losing day turns into a winning day. So it's like, I had like a bunch of bets out. I think I ended up going 4 and 5. So ended up like down a bet plus the juice on a lot of different bets. So not that degenerate,
Yeah.
That's how it
works. I don't know what mad scientists they have cooking up the lines, but it's always like whatever you need to happen, it just falls short.
That's how they get you.
Yeah,
that's how they get you.
Yeah.
How much did you lose on the Super Bowl, Zach?
I don't bet.
What a guy.
I don't bet. I lost nothing. I lost a little bit of respect for my dad because he went and took a nap during the halftime show and then came out and complained that he could still hear it from the other room.
Yeah, okay. I actually wanted to talk about the halftime show. I wanted to hear what your family had to say, and I got to watch it with some old boomers, so it was fun.
Yeah, so we had probably pretty similar experiences. I mean, first of all, so like halftime shows, it's about pageantry, right? It's not about like art or music. It's about fireworks and what they can cook up with all the, mechanics and stuff and what special guests they can get. And me being like a punk rock guy, I like intimate stuff, I like self-expression. You can make things cool without spending $1 billion and it looking like a commercial.
Okay.
And so I kind of did like that Kendrick just stuck to his songs and had some dancers with like maybe some political messaging. We're not going to get into it because our listeners don't like that. But I mean, it wasn't like the best thing I'd ever seen, but I also don't think for a second it was bad. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. I was waiting for him to play that song about Drake the entire time, and then he did, and that was fun.
Yeah, I think the whole world enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, except for Drake. That's tough.
Someone said, imagine being the 17-year-old high school girl who has to calm Drake down after this.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. What were some other highlights?
All the commercials sucked this year. There wasn't a good one.
Oh, I feel like I remember a couple that I was like, oh, that's kind of good. What was? Now I don't. I told you my brain is starting to go.
That's fine.
Anyway, it was such a shit game. I mean, gosh. I was rooting for the Eagles. I wanted them to win, but it was just so boring.
I feel like this might be a little bit of revisionist history. Didn't you say you liked the Chiefs last week?
I picked the Chiefs because I do like the Chiefs, but I wanted the Eagles to win.
Okay.
Or wait. No, I didn't. Sorry.
It's the other way around.
I wanted the Chiefs to win. I wanted them to win a close game because I'm not a degenerate.
This is such revisionist history. You have now completely told yourself you were rooting for the opposite team in the Super Bowl.
Who cares? I like to root for winners.
That's right. Yeah. Good thing last week's episode isn't...
The people I was hanging out with were rooting for the Eagles, and I didn't care that much, so I was kind of rooting for the Eagles. But
yeah. Good thing our word doesn't just stay on the internet forever for everyone to see.
Okay. We talked Super Bowl. We talked this and that. Zach, I've got something to... One, we're going to talk about Invincible, but you probably haven't noticed this. but my camera's up just a little bit higher than it normally is. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
You're concealing something?
I'm concealing something, exactly. Let's see what I'm concealing here.
Wearing an Invincible shirt.
Oh, look at that.
That's Captain America's shield.
We've got a homemade Captain America shirt here.
How was that homemade?
What do you mean? I made it. I drew it.
You drew that?
I drew. Yeah, it's like permanent marker and expo marker.
Dude, that looks good.
Thank you. Do you remember, Zach? My sister and I and my mom's birthday is today. Oh my God, dude. Sorry. I have to text her right this very second.
Tell her I say happy birthday too.
Okay, I will.
Does she even know who I am?
Yeah, she knows I do the stupid podcast. So what do you...
I don't know who you tell.
She's always like, oh, I should listen. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't. Say Zach also says happy birthday. There you go. Okay, so her birthday is today, the 15th. So yesterday, the Captain America movie came out, or maybe it came out. Anyway, we went and saw it. So I had to make my own Captain America shirt. But here's the big thing. Do you remember what my favorite line is from Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I'm just sure I've said it on here before.
You've got to do better, Senator.
That is what it is.
Is that the tone of this whole movie?
Check it out, Zach.
Oh my God. He's written on the back of this shirt, you've got to do better, Senator. And the letters could not possibly be bigger. But impressively, it's not like a happy birthday card where it's like the first few letters are huge and then he runs out of space. Yep. You put some planning into this. It's kind of artistic.
Thank you. Thank you. I did ruin a couple t-shirts.
Oh, is this not Mark 1?
This would technically be Mark 3.
Okay.
But Mark 1, it's funny you bring that up. Mark 1 was pretty good. So if any webheads would like a homemade Captain America shirt with the words, you've got to do better, Senator, written on the back, I have one extra that I'd be happy to send to someone. I'll send it to the first person that writes it and says that they want it.
I will give them 2 weeks head start before I'm the one who buys that.
Okay, that's fair. I guess I should have offered it to you first. Huh?
It's fine.
And then I have a second shirt that's only the shield, and I messed it up, and I was like, this isn't going to work. So Mark 2 is a total waste.
I know this is an audio medium, but I can tell you, listeners, this is a pretty cool shirt.
Well, I figured I'd take a picture of,
That's awesome.
We might want to post it. So there you go. There's our first giveaway.
I love grown men designing like a fan-made costume for something. It's like what I did for Lexington Comic Con last year when I made that whole hot rod suit that I still have.
Awesome. That does not compare to this t-shirt. That is much better.
I don't know, because no one recognized it, and I know that shirt would be popular if you wore it out.
Well, nobody said anything, but my sister liked it a lot.
That's
and
good.
that was the main target audience.
Okay. Good.
Movie was okay. I figured you hadn't seen it, so I don't want to spoil anything about it. But Captain America's a big bird, and he fights a Red Hulk. And there you go. It's pretty good.
Love it. Yeah, I saw it has like a B- rating, and they're saying it's like along the lines of like other superhero movies that have had that is like Howard the Duck and the last Venom movie and stuff like that. So,
well, I was going to rate it out of 100 senators that have to do better. I was going to give it a 67.
Hey, that's enough to pass a vote.
Thank you, Zach. That's exactly what I thought was it. And it's enough to, overturn a veto.
Yeah.
2/3. It's enough to impeach. So, that's not bad, but
Look
it's not good.
People are getting a little lesson in civics.
Yeah, see that? You can't keep Zach and I away from politics.
That's right.
Anyway, it was kind of missing a third act. You can kind of tell that it was like cut up and hasn't it been supposed to come out for like a year? That was my big takeaway was superhero movies, or all movies, they're supposed to follow a setup, right? You don't just fight the bat. I don't want to spoil too much of it. Anyway, it's just kind of missing like a third act, fight kind of.
Well, and if it gets 67 senators, that means that you really loved the first 2 acts because that's 2/3 of the Senate.
I guess that's true. I mean, I liked most of the movie. It was pretty good. There were some cool scenes.
There you have it.
There were some cool scenes. $500 million.
A rousing endorsement on the new Captain America movie. Run, don't walk to your nearest theater.
Should we send it over to the sponsor then?
Let's do it.
Us today. And now a word from our sponsor, Captain America: Brave New World, in theaters everywhere.
Every business says they're better. But the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
All right, and we're back.
We're back. Okay, I'm gonna warn the listeners now. We're gonna get some ambient noise in this episode, so be prepared. You hear this? That's my shaken espresso latte. It's got some ice in there.
He told them extra ice. I have to podcast after this.
I did. I said, fill that I don't want any coffee in this cup at all. I want just a cup of ice.
He actually made them remake it because it wasn't loud enough.
And then, I know this is going to shock our listeners, but I'm actually feeling a teeny bit sick. Dude, there's been like 90 kids out at school every day for the past like 2 weeks.
Oh my God, there is absolutely something
crazy
going around.
So, eventually I got a little sick, so might hear a little sniffling going on. Sorry in advance. I'll try my best. Yeah. I'll try my best to mute when I drink coffee out of my ice cup and I sniffle. Okay, carry on. Ambient noises, something or other. Let's get into Spider-Man.
Absolutely. And this one is Ultimate Enemy #1. So this is kind of a side series that we have going on.
Yeah, I have a feeling, Zach, and I know this because I'm going to do it, that the Maker is going to get brought up a lot of times in this episode. Okay, so get ready to talk about that.
Maybe.
Because I also saw the Fantastic Four trailer.
I figured we'd talk about
and
that.
I've got some theories.
Oh, about the movie?
I do.
Okay. I didn't think about it that hard, but I just thought it looks kind of cool that they're doing it like it's
I think it looks really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got I got to be careful because Marvel has really burned me lately, but I tentatively feel good about that movie coming out.
We'll talk about it at the end.
Okay. All right. Ultimate Enemy #1. This is written by Brian Michael Bendis, penciled by Rafa Sandoval, inked by Roger Bonet, colored by Matthew Wilson, and lettered by VC's Joe Caramagna. So we open on Jessica Drew, my favorite. We haven't seen her in a while. We love her. And she's swinging through the city, and she's thinking some stuff. We're getting like her internal dialogue. And she says, I hate doing one of these. It always feels like a last will and testament. Hell, maybe it is. Okay, here we go. My name is Jessica Drew. That is the name I have given myself. I had to give it to myself because I had no parents to name me. I wasn't born, I was made. I was made by the evil maniacs in that building. Or at least people just like them. We see she's looking at the Roxxon building. They did it in the name of science, and if they made me, they'll try to make me again. It could be what they're doing right now. I don't know, but I can't have it. So here I am on day 32 of my Roxxon recon, gathering information, gathering intel. I'm going to bust them. Gonna bust them wide open. They have to learn that everything has a cost. They have to learn about consequences. They have to learn that there is a God. And as she says God, we flip the page, and we get the first of many images in this issue that are a little confusing. It looks like the Roxxon building is exploding, but the explosion might also be a tentacle monster.
I think it is. I think it's like a big creature.
Yeah. We find out that that's what it is at first, we find out that that's what it is later, but at first, it's just a little unclear.
Yeah.
And, John, does this tentacle monster remind you of anything? Just off the top of your head?
The thing from Watchmen?
Yes. I think there's more than a few parallels with Watchmen just in this issue that we'll see. I think
okay.
For whatever reason, Bendis might have been trying to draw from it or reference it, but it seems like it was on his mind.
Okay. When you get to those, you gotta let me know.
For sure. So she swings in and starts saving the scientists while blaming them and asking them how to kill the thing. And they're all like, how should we know? And she's like, you made it. Because she just assumes that that's what Roxxon does all day. And she's probably not wrong. And they say it wasn't them. And she thinks to herself that they're liars. And she doesn't really want to be saving these people, but she has got to do what she's got to do. And I said, it's almost like with great power comes great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's saving the people she's trying to take down because that's what a hero would do.
Yeah, well said.
And the building starts to collapse, and an explosion blows her onto the street. Again, it's not super clear what's happening. I think if I have one major issue with this issue, it's that the art just is never clear about what's going on. And Bendis doesn't do too much with his dialogue to help us understand it.
Yeah. It could be a little more clear. Well, it could probably be a lot more clear between like this, that, you know, when you're reading it at the start, you're like, okay, it's an explosion. And then you find out like, oh no, it's a creature. And then it's like, oh, what, you know, and then you got to scroll back and be like, oh, okay, that's like a creature that's doing, you know, and it does that for a couple issues.
It's not that
but
the
it's
art
clear enough.
Yeah, I mean, you understand the sense of what's happening, if not the specifics. And it's not like the art is bad. I'd actually say this is pretty fun art to look at. If anything, it sort of reminds me of Immonen. It kind of reminds me of Stuart Immonen's art. It's just not super clear about what's happening, but it looks good as it's happening.
Yeah.
All right. So we change scenes to Reed Richards' parents' house. And Reed is asleep on the couch, and he's got some cute little siblings running around. And his dad comes in the room yelling at him to wake up. And his mom's like, don't yell at him. He's been through a lot.
Okay, so I somehow on my YouTube, something popped up about the Maker. You know, and you know, I'll just put those on while I'm cleaning my house or something, you know. And it was talking about how like Reed in this universe, his dad was like a real piece of shit to him or something. And that's like partially why he maybe turned into like, you know, a villain instead of a hero. I thought that this was the past because Reed's looking pretty young. I was is this must be like past Reed Richards or something.
That's the thing that we have to remember about the Ultimate Universe Fantastic Four is they're like all kids, right? Yeah. They're basically at like a school for the rich and gifted, and they're like between 16 and like 19 the whole time.
Okay. He's been through a lot by age 19 at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone knocks on the front door, and Reed's dad goes to open it. And Reed's kind of waking up because his dad was just yelling at him. And he sees on his computer screen, energy flux detected. And he tries to yell at his dad, but as soon as his dad opens the door, the house blows up. And it looks pretty bad. There's like a mushroom cloud coming through the roof. So we're left to assume there was no survivors.
It looks pretty bad. If we didn't know that this Reed Richards has a huge storyline in this universe still, you would probably think that he was dead. That makes me think he's the one responsible.
Well, John, you're a very smart guy with good media literacy, but
I also know that he's not. I also know where the story goes, kind of.
Yeah, for the listener's sake, we're going to pretend like we're reading this in real time as it's coming out, and anything's on the table. So let's just keep an open mind as we move forward and pretend we don't know what the story is building to.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. And we cut to narration from someone who's walking around Manhattan, and she's thinking about how much she likes being able to be normal now and not famous. And we're never actually shown who's speaking. And the person walks into the Baxter building and onto the elevator, and we realize it was Sue Storm, and she had been walking around town invisible. And she gets to her floor and is surprised to see Ben Grimm, the Thing. And they catch up for a bit, and Sue reminds us, the readers, that the FF are broken up and have gone their separate ways. And she's like, me and Reed broke up, Johnny's in high school, you're in the army, Dad's dead, blah, blah, blah. She fills us all in on what's happened post-ultimatum. And Ben tells her that he missed her, and she's like, aw, I missed you too, bud. He's like, no, not like that.
No, Suze.
It's different, Suze. He says, I think you make me feel better about myself. I miss your face. I miss your eyes. I love you. And you know what? Shoot your shot, man.
Dude, absolutely.
She's fair game. She's pretty. You two are close.
Yeah.
You go, Ben Grimm. And Sue just looks shocked. She doesn't really say anything. And Ben goes, well, I kind of knew it was a long shot, but it's how I felt, Suze. I'd have never said nothing if you and Reed was together, but you ain't. It's just us.
It's a good bro.
Yeah. He's not putting any pressure on her. He said his piece.
Reed is out here trying to control the universe. He's like a crazy person. And Ben Grimm is still being a good bro to him.
Yeah. So Ben gets on the elevator because Sue still hasn't said anything. And this is a part that was unclear for a bit. I said his rock pops out of his arm and falls on the ground and he just keeps walking away. But it seems like he did that on purpose, and he says, something to remember me by. And he disappears into the elevator.
Yeah, and it almost seems like he can just, flex a part of his body, and his rock will pop off of it, Because it's not like his hand is grabbing that piece. It just, pops off, like you said.
John, I'm trying to think about how he would know he could do this. And I'm coming up with a disgusting thought.
Okay.
I think the Thing got his rocks off. I think he was alone and he started rubbing a little too hard and he's like, what the hell? These things flake off?
I mean, probably. He's a
because we don't see anywhere else on his body where he's missing a chunk. So it's got to be somewhere that's concealed.
Or maybe he can put them back on. Maybe they pop off and he can, glue,
He's just Lego man?
Yeah.
Okay. So Sue walks over and starts to inspect his basically dead skin flake he left her. When the tentacle monster from earlier comes through the window and starts, eating the Baxter building. And Ben is already on the street somehow by this point. And I said, Ben does something. It looks really cool, but...
He yells, Suze!
Yeah, and then it seems like maybe he jumps at the monster and it smacks him away. But Ben, we can assume, has tried to conflict with it and has met his match. That's about as clear as the image is.
I think you're right. He jumps up to it, smacks him far away.
Yep. So we cut scenes again. You see what we're doing here? And we get to Nick Fury in disguise as an old white man sitting at a table. And we know that he does this because we've seen it's very funny. We've seen before in Ultimate Spider-Man a long time ago that what Nick Fury likes to do is go to Chinatown and sit outside and eat at an outdoor table and get dinner. He's done that twice now, except this time
I didn't know. I didn't remember that.
Except this time he's in disguise as an old white man.
So Nick Fury wasn't supposed to be back in this universe, right?
He stuck around. Remember they pulled him back after Ultimatum?
Okay, did they?
Or during it?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And a purple form appears and blows something up, but this purple form is not the same as the tentacle monster that's expanding through the city. It's just a different guy. And he blows something up, and Fury's was just thinking about how great it was that he's having a meal. And he says, "Man can't have a meal," and rips his mask off. It looks like this old white guy's ripping his face off to reveal Nick Fury. And
I didn't know that was Nick Fury. So I was like, oh, yeah. Nick Fury's back.
I could kind of guess because he looks like he's wearing a Ben 10 watch, and it pops up with something and he looks at it. So it was clear from the first time we saw this guy that he was somewhat important. And I just looked a page ahead and saw that it was Nick Fury. And the form says, "You have no one to blame but yourself, Nick Fury." So if we still were unsure about who this was, they just told us. And I said, lots of explosions and issue ends.
That kind of reminds me of just the Captain America movie from yesterday. You know, the first 10 minutes of the movie, every single character that comes on screen is oh, hey, it's Captain America. Hey, oh, this guy, it's they really push that okay, Sam is Captain America now. Everybody knows him as Captain America. It's that is his name. That's all he gets called the entire movie is Captain America. And I'm just I don't know how much they called Steve Rogers Captain America when they were anyway. It reminded me of it.
We can't have civilian names anymore because of woke, John.
Is that it?
That's it.
It's PC culture.
Yeah. Okay, so I gave this issue 5 out of 10 for clarity, but 8 out of 10 for vibes.
Okay. I'm willing to just give it an 8 out of 10. I like what we're setting up here.
Yeah. It seems to be a fun little story developing.
I love these big stories. And, I almost feel like we're getting a second, ultimatum type adventure here.
I found myself thinking the same thing too, looking at this art, because this giant expanding tentacle monster seems like a really big problem. And then now you've got this purple guy, and on the last page, it looks like he just blows up this entire massive building. So,
and, we know, or I know, that the maker is somehow involved in this. I would just assume. I'm still just assuming, because the very first thing that we see them do is kill Reed Richards. So it's okay, this is so that's also tickling me. It's titillating me. It's titillating and tickling me.
Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, and not only does it appear to kill Reed, it appears to kill his whole family. So that's interesting. That adds another level to it.
What, his mom and dad and siblings?
Yeah, they just showed us
that much about them.
cute little kids running around. And now we
who
know
are Reed's siblings? Are they famous?
Not at all. They're just cute.
They're just
cannon
cute,
fodder.
Dead kids.
Yeah. It's sad.
It is. I'm broken up about it. Happy Valentine's Day. Okay, should we go to number 2?
Let's do it.
Issue not 152. That's not what we're doing today.
Did you read 152?
No, I read the right one. I just wrote it down wrong.
Okay. You know what's funny is I did the same thing on my note.
Okay. We're in New York City. Written by Brian Michael Bendis, penciled by Rafa Sandoval, inked by Roger Bonet, colored by Matthew Wilson, lettered by VC's Joe Caramanga. We start in New York City. And dude, did I read what am I on here?
You're on the right thing.
No, I actually wasn't, because all of my credits weren't on the page I was on. And I was like, I swear I wrote these down.
You did.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're looking at the wrong
I was
thing.
reading it off the comment because I was like, where is it? Okay, now I'm on the right one. Sorry, listeners. You deserve better. We open in New York City with Johnny and Peter. They're swinging through the city, and Johnny wants Peter to meet with someone about like merchandising action figure Spider-Man dolls. He's like, come on, think of the money you could make. And this is what Kingpin was going to do like 100 issues ago.
I was going to say, don't we know that canonically Kingpin already has the rights to that?
Yeah.
Or at least, well, Kingpin's dead, but his company probably retains it.
Yeah. So I was actually thinking, maybe this is like a Kingpin guy or something, but this is probably never going to come up again, right? It's just like an intro conversation. So Peter's like, no, it's not about the money. It's
not always about the money, Spider-Man.
It's
about the Mets. Go Mets. Love the Mets, baby. Get a home run. Let's go Mets.
Oh my gosh. That's like, I've seen that before. That's so like stupid YouTube thing, isn't it?
That's one of my favorite videos.
Yeah, I love that.
I've put it on the Instagram story before.
You probably sent that to me. That's probably why I've seen that.
It's just so
it's about the Mets. And that reminds me of a dumb poster that my coworker has up in her office that we always joke about, and it says, "Teachers not in it for the income, in it for the outcome." And we always laugh. We're like, "You're not in it for the income, blah blah blah." I bet Shyla like full on believes that. I bet that would like warm her heart if she like had something like that.
I'm not kidding. She orders t-shirts on Etsy like every week that say stuff like that.
That's funny.
She has a closet full of inspiring teacher shirts.
let me yeah.
And sometimes they even include something about like, if it's St. Patrick's Day, we've got to have a special one for that.
Here, I'm gonna go grab something really quickly.
Okay.
Okay, my mom was a teacher for like 35 years. She like loves that I'm a teacher. It's like her favorite thing ever. So she got me this for like Christmas or something this past year. It's like the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It says, I hope
this isn't the episode your mom decides to finally listen to.
It says she knows it's like the stupidest thing. When I opened it, I was like, oh my God. It says a teacher is tender, enthusiastic, right? Like TEACA. The tender, enthusiastic, adaptable, concerned, helping, energetic, resourceful. And like she sewed this. This is like her thing.
That's awesome.
Maybe we'll do another giveaway.
That is the cutest, sweetest mom gift I've ever seen. You better not give that away.
No, I couldn't. Sorry, webheads, not today. But Peter says it's not about the money, and Johnny cuts him off and says it's about the selfless act of it. And Peter's like, yes. But their conversation is interrupted by the Nick Fury attack from last issue. So at the heart of the explosion, Peter and Johnny are looking at Nick Fury is kind of being ragdolled around
Dude, this explosion is like the size of Central Park. Nick Fury was at the center of it. How is he standing?
Well, I'm about to explain. One, he's not standing. He's being ragdolled around. Didn't you hear what I just said?
I'm sorry.
And he is only being saved by this like blue force field that's around him as he's like getting knocked into stuff. And he's thinking to himself, knew this day would come. Mystery guy comes at me. Don't know why. Don't know who. Good thing I've got my personal force field. But damn, this dude-ad ain't going to last forever. Got to do something. And he gets up and he begins shooting and fighting back as he continues thinking, don't know if it's because of something I did or something I didn't do, or because if you're Nick Fury for long enough, this is just bound to happen. But then he's like, but no one even knows I'm supposed to be alive. So, and he says, that makes the list of suspects all the more colorful. And that's true. That is interesting. That's an interesting thought.
Did you notice that when he gets thrown through a window in this scene, there's a hidden Mickey? Because I think this was right around the time that Disney bought Marvel.
There is. Look at that.
There's a little Mickey Mouse t-shirt.
Cute. Anything to help
the parent
Disney
company
make more money, huh?
Right.
Fury continues to get thrown around. As Zach just said, he gets chucked through a window into a mall full of people. And he tells them to run before Johnny and Spidey show up. And Johnny surrounds the monster in a big fire tornado. And then Spidey's about to jump in and help. But then all of a sudden the monster just disappears. And from behind the boys, Fury says, thought that might happen. And they turn around and they're like, whoa, Nick Fury. And Fury says, hey, kid, still going with that costume, huh?
This is presumably the first time the two of them have seen him since he came back to this universe.
Definitely.
They were never in any scenes with him in Ultimatum.
Yeah. And Peter immediately says, he's like, I thought you were dead. And Fury just says, nope. Before he asks Peter what his bug sense is telling him. And Peter's like, what? And he's like, your danger sense. And Peter asks how he knows about that. And Fury says, because I'm me. When their reunion is interrupted by the monster creature that's destroying the Baxter building. So Johnny flies off to help. He yells, Susie! And he flies off. And then the page turns and we see Ben. And he yells, Suze! And he's jumping up to help also. And Sue is fighting off the creature with her force field. But she's fading, and then Johnny comes bursting in, and it gives her a second wind. And outside, the thing is just kind of punching the creature randomly. And he says, come on, show me something the part I can punch, because I'd really like to punch you as hard as I can. And then Sue, I'm assuming that this is what happens, Zach, but I would think, and then Sue electrifies the creature from the inside, and it blasts Ben away. Is that what happens?
Dude, I don't know. This is like the coolest comic book art, and you just look at it and you understand kind of what's happening. Like, you're going with it. You see that this epic fight is happening, but trying to describe it is just impossible.
I don't know. I mean, I thought I was doing a pretty good job.
No, you did. You did. I'm commending how good of a job you did.
Well, I'm pretty sure that is what happens. I think that is like, at first I read it and I was like, oh, the creature like electrified itself and threw Ben off, But then looking at it, it looks like it's like getting destroyed. So it looks to me like Sue did something to it. And but who knows, right? I guess we don't know that for sure.
Right.
So on the ground, right? Ben got knocked to the ground. Johnny and Sue come down to the ground and they're finally all able to talk. And it looks like Sue is holding like the heart of the creature. Is that what you thought that was?
It definitely could be. I thought she compressed it in a force field and made it this little embryonic version of itself.
Okay.
it being the heart also makes sense to me.
Yeah, it could be either thing. She's got something about it in her hands. And Johnny asks if they accidentally created that, and Sue says, of course not. And she says she doesn't think that she was actually the primary target. And she looks up at the Baxter building, and it almost looks like the building is like dissolving into nothingness. It looks like the Doctor Strange multiverse of madness when like the universe is like fading away into like black goo, kind of. Zach gave a snap while I was talking, so I guess it kind of looks like it's getting dusted away or something.
Yeah, like how humans do. Imagine that for a building.
So the Baxter building was a target. The Roxxon building, who does a bunch of science stuff, was a target.
It was like ground zero.
Reed Richards was a target, and Nicholas Fury was a target.
Yeah.
I'm starting to put stuff together here.
Every member of the Fantastic Four was targeted, except for Johnny.
Well, Sue said she wasn't the target. She didn't think.
That's true. But
and
effectively,
Ben wasn't really targeted either. The Baxter building was.
Yeah, but her and Ben were in the Baxter building at the time.
Okay.
But you're right. She did say she doesn't think she was a target. But I don't know how she determined that.
Yeah, that's true. So Sue's like, I don't know what that thing is, but Reed Richards will. And I thought it's funny that she said Richards.
Why?
Because would you say that?
Oh.
If I was talking to like...
But John O'Pat would.
Exactly. Like, they all know who Reed is. There's only one Reed that they presumably all know.
That's true. That would be very funny, though, if they just haven't been around each other in like a second, and Johnny's like, Reed who?
Reed Richards. Oh, yeah. I remember that guy. Stretchy.
What's he doing these days?
He's always stretching around while he's talking to us, being an annoying prick.
He doesn't even... At no point did he perceive that him and his sister were dating. He's just like, stretchy guy.
So they're going off to find Reed, and in the next scene, Jessica Drew gets home from a day of superheroing, and she's thinking to herself, maybe I should be doing more. When she flips on the news and she sees the Baxter building attack, and as she's watching, we see kind of a light form underneath the door to her bedroom that she has shut. And she notices it too just in time, and she jumps up above the door frame just as a huge blast comes through her door. Basically the same thing that happened to Reed and Nick Fury, I would say. It's that creature. At this point, we know there's like two creatures, right? There's the big monster creature, and there's the tentacle creature.
This is the big monster
creature. Yeah. And so she avoids the blast, and she sees the big monster creature, and for a split second she's like, should I fight this guy? What should I be doing here? And she thinks better of it and decides to jump out the window and kind of swings away to safety.
It was a good choice.
So now Jessica Drew's being targeted by this thing. That's kind of weird. Why would this thing care about Jessica Drew?
It hates trans people? I don't know.
God.
This thing's the worst.
This thing is the worst.
Okay, so in lieu of a name that's actually...
Maybe that's right. Maybe that is what Reed's deal is. He wants to control the world. He's taking out everyone that could stop him, and he just hates trans people.
Okay, so in lieu of this big monster guy actually getting a name on the page, do you want to name him? If you worked in the Marvel offices and someone came up to you and said, John, we've just created this monster guy, but we can't think of a name for him. What do you think he should be called? And we'll just use that.
I don't know, dude. That's like a lot of pressure that you just quickly... What would you call him?
I don't know, like Gilgog or something, or Gograk.
Dude, Well, I definitely think that his name starts with a G.
He looks like a G for sure.
I immediately went with Gerald. Was the first name that popped into my head.
He looks like he'd be from some alien species that really likes strong names that start with a G.
Yeah, I agree. Gilroy.
Oh my God, this is Gilroy.
So phew. Okay, luckily Jessica Drew escapes Gilroy.
Gilroy the Terrible.
Yes. So the Fantastic Three and Spider-Man show up at Reed's parents' house only to discover the explosion, and the police tell them that no one survived. And Johnny says no one should have known Reed's parents lived there. They were under a fake name. And Peter thinks to himself that Fury said the same thing before he demands a phone. And he calls home to Aunt May. And we can only see Aunt May's side of the convo, but we can assume Peter is screaming at her to like leave the house. But we just hear Aunt May say, "Oh, hi, honey. What are you saying? Honey, I can't hear you. Calm down." And in the background, we see that that Gilroy the Terrible has teleported outside the Parker house.
Holy
And there's a funny bit right as Peter's calling. We get to hear like some of the kids' conversations, and Bobby's trying to cheat off of Gwen's homework, and Gwen's like, "Didn't they teach you anything in that house of yours?" And Bobby says, "They taught me that mutants are the future of mankind." And I think that's hilarious because every time we've ever seen them learning school in those houses, it does seem like it's always just like a speech that Professor X is like giving about how like mutants and evolution and something or other. And it's like, teach math, Professor X.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just a pretty little funny line there Bendis had.
I just thought of a banger of a YouTube video. Actual teacher breaks down the flaws in education in X-Men.
They're only learning one class. They're like learning social studies, kind of.
Well, and I also think it's funny how they're like, just the conceit of X-Men is like, we'll teach you to use your powers responsibly. It's like, okay, so what are you doing? You don't have like 1-to-1 instructor to student ratio. How are you going to teach a telepath and a kid that can fly the same?
That's true. Professor X. Hey, that actually reminds me. Did Magneto magnetically choke Professor X and kill him? Or did he actually like break his neck?
I think he used his hands.
Bastard.
Yeah.
Well, he was a bad teacher anyways.
That's the lesson. Bad teachers should get their next pro. If you can't live up to the code of ethics for teachers that John's mom stitched,
you got to be tender, enthusiastic, and some other things.
Or else you're just expendable. Magneto can literally kill you. It's fine.
Agree. Okay, what should this one be rated?
Appearances by Gilroy the Terrible.
Out of 10 appearances of Gilroy the Terrible, what is this one?
I'm going to give it another 8. I am hooked. I'm loving the plot. I'm loving the characters. I'm loving the art. I just don't always understand it.
I agree. I don't think I could have said that any better. And because you loved all that stuff, I'm going to give it higher than an 8. I'm going to give it a 9. Okay? I'm so hooked after this, Zach. I did something I've never done before.
You read ahead?
I read the next 2 issues. Right after I finished this last night, I was like, oh, I have to know what's happening here. And I read the next 2 issues after it. So that's how much I am enjoying it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And then after this, there's 2 more of these series that continue. It's very confusing how they did it.
Oh, it's not just like, because we've done 2.
Yep.
And it's only out of 4.
Yep.
And then there's more after it.
There's 2 other miniseries.
Okay, that makes me happy because, like I just said, I read the next 2 issues and it didn't finish scratching that itch that I had. I was like, oh, I haven't gotten the information that I was thinking was going to be coming here.
No, we're on this arc for a minute.
Okay. That good. That I like that more than these 4. Not that the next 2 aren't good or anything, but when it said 2 out of 4, I'm expecting the story to get wrapped up in 2 more issues, which it did not,
Actually, so the art being hard to follow is not my biggest complaint about this series overall. It's the way that they did that, because they make it so hard to follow that there's Ultimate Enemy, and then it's followed by Ultimate Mystery, and then Ultimate Doom, and then this whole thing is called Ultimate Comics Doomsday. There should be it should all be one miniseries with the same title.
Wow, this is called Doomsday.
That's what the whole thing is called, yep.
But Doom is dead.
Doom is dead. Long live Doom.
Interesting.
Every answer presents a new question, doesn't it?
It does. Okay. Well, I'm not going to read too far ahead.
Okay. Sounds good. But anyways, you already said it. Next week, we're getting into Ultimate Comics Enemy number 3 and number 4.
And is this because here we can see next issue, comics on sale. And down here it says Ultimate Spider-Man number 7. So is this this is 20 issues ago, kind of.
They started writing this 20 issues ago, but I think canonically it's set right around where we are in the series.
Okay. Well, I liked it. I'm digging it.
Cool. Glad to hear it. We will continue next week.
All right.
Do you have anything else, Spider-Man? Did you watch the new show? I haven't either.
I've heard it's really good, though.
I had the choice.
I'm hearing only good things about it.
That's very good. I can't wait to watch it. I was given the choice between that and Invincible, and I chose Invincible.
Definitely.
Dude, I was thinking about it, and I told Shiloh this. This might be hard to, I guess, elocute well.
Not a word. Eloquate?
Okay. Eloquate. I'm high.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Zach, we don't do that.
Speak for yourself, brother.
Okay, go on.
I think Invincible might be my favorite superhero universe, if that makes sense. I was just thinking about everything feels so clean and well thought out and cohesive about the greater Invincible universe, right down to Cecil feels like such a cool version of Nick Fury, and they've got Artie, the guy who makes the costumes, and that kind of feels like an old DC thing. It just is so cool. And then it's got the lore about space, and every time something comes up, it's a continuation of a plot that we had already gotten in this show. And it feels like we're keeping so many balls juggling in the air and doing it well, to where something will come back that you haven't seen in a minute, but you still remember where you left off. And it's just constantly building upon itself, but it's not crumbling under its own weight. It's just such a masterfully designed universe.
So this makes me think you've really liked these first 4 episodes of this new season.
I have, and I liked season 1 and I liked season 2. I think I've said before on this show, and it surprised you, I'm higher on Invincible than I am The Boys. I like both, but
well, dude, I love Invincible. I think it's so good. I think this season, these first couple episodes have been awesome. The thing you said about Cecil, being a cool Nick Fury, Nick Fury's awesome, but I had that thought just the other day, also, when I was reading this comic, that just about that comparison. And man, Cecil is one of my favorite characters in Invincible. I just love it.
Cool and nuanced, and I love that episode we just got about his backstory. and him as a young man and what like shapes him. He thinks you can be the good guy or you can be the guy that saves the world. And that just defines everything we've ever seen from that character. It makes it make sense.
Well, yeah. He's almost like Nick Fury with a better moral compass, I would say. Like, I don't know. He and Nick Fury both definitely have like an ends justify the means type of attitude, but it feels like when we have Nick Fury in the Ultimate Spider-Man universe, we are always like, Nick Fury is in the wrong here, you know? And when I watch Cecil and he and Mark are going at it, you know, spoilers for some of these new episodes, dude, not for 1 second do I think Cecil's in the wrong. I'm like, Mark, you're proving his point. You got to calm down, man.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Yeah, Cecil might be my favorite. I don't know, because I've always been really into Adam Eve. I think she's cool, but I think there's just more there with Cecil.
Well,
right?
Cecil's also voiced by Walter Goggins, who is just like one of my favorite actors. He's Baby Billy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, I love that J.K. Simmons is Omni-Man. I always forget that whenever they go on like these long breaks and don't come back. And then I hear his voice again, I get so excited. I recently watched the first Spider-Man movie just for fun. Someone literally asked, because I put it on my Instagram, and they were like, is this for the podcast? And I'm like, no, this is just love of the game, baby. I'm just Spider-Man 24/7. But I was
That's funny. I rewatched the Captain America, the Winter Soldier, like 3 or 4 days ago to prepare for this new one. And I'm like, this movie's so good. I could watch this. I could watch the Captain America movies all the time.
I was thinking about rewatching that one because
it's so good.
Someone always does this. It's like so easy of a way to get whatever likes or whatever on social media is just every so often people will post the fight scene where Bucky flips his knife from the Winter Soldier and everyone just talks about
drops it and catches it.
Yes, how great of a shot that is. And they're right. And I saw that and I was like, I got to rewatch that movie again. That is so good.
Dude, it's awesome. I have so many favorite parts of that movie that, you know, I could talk about forever. But one of my favorite parts that I've talked about before is at the very beginning when Cap is just running along the length of the boat, just obliterating these like soldiers. He just is savage. I mean, he's like just murdering them. It's awesome.
Oh yeah. There's one shot in that
I love
scene.
it when my heroes aren't afraid to kill bad guys. They're bad guys. Yeah. That's what happens to bad guys, like Oliver says in Invincible.
Oh my God, he does say that. Anyways, what I was going to say about the first Spider-Man movie was just that it's like I've known my whole life that J.K. Simmons and Willem Dafoe are in that movie, but I was just in awe of the fact that we got two of the best actors of our lifetimes playing the roles they were born to play in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
And it just made me happy.
Yeah, that is an insane like cast that they that cast that they put out has like it's like helped form like the superhero genre.
Yes.
You know?
Genuinely, Tobey Maguire is the worst one of them, and he is amazing, and there's a reason everyone to this day still says he's Spider-Man.
Yeah. I saw something just the other day that was like proof that inflation is real. And it shows like Tobey Maguire's superhero jacked body compared to like what superheroes look like now, you know, when he's like, when he first gets his spider powers and he's like, oh my gosh, look at this. I've got some muscles now. And now you see like Thor and he's just like out of his mind on steroids.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Okay. That is good stuff.
Did you have more about Invincible?
Dude, I could talk about it forever. It's so good. I think all the stuff with Nolan is still my favorite parts. You know,
yeah.
I love hearing all about the Viltrumites and stuff, and all that Battle Beast stuff. That was pretty awesome. I like seeing him come back. He's great.
That's the thing is, like, you'll forget about characters in that universe completely, and then they'll come back. Like those two brothers that are like basically smart Hulks that argue with each other.
Wait,
I
what?
totally
The Maulers?
the Maulers.
You don't forget about the Maulers?
I do until they come back and Run the Jewels starts playing and they start bickering over which one's smarter. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot. I love these guys.
And then they got murdered.
Well, spoilers.
Poor Mauler twins. They'll be back.
There's just so many things like that where you're like, oh yeah, this character that should be pretty one-dimensional and like stereotypical, they are, but they're also more than that.
Yeah. Dude, the Invincible comics must be like crazy because I mean it like you said, the universe is so built out and that's all like in everything that they do is like from the comics, you know? This isn't really like an original story in very much at all. So I don't know, it's like wild to me that the comics have that much like I'd never heard of them at all until the show came out, you know?
So I had been resistant to reading them before the show came out because they're Robert Kirkman, who I knew from the Walking Dead comics and the Marvel Zombies comics. And I mean, I watched Walking Dead and I read a lot of the comic, but I never liked the comic. It just felt so dark and like kind of meandering, and there was no point to all the suffering. It just led you to the next issue of more of it. And I didn't love Marvel Zombies. I just was not a fan of his zombie comic work. And so when everyone was talking about this new superhero universe by Robert Kirkman, I was just so out. And I don't know how he's clearly such a good creator, and I just couldn't get into his stuff earlier, but I have to try the comics at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's won me over. Just like heart and mind. I love it, and I've been missing out this whole time.
Yeah. I think Invincible has probably taken over for my my favorite superhero thing that's going on right now. It's probably slightly ahead of The Boys, you know, but we'll see. If The Boys has a good next season, then it will easily like take back that reign. But Invincible's kind of crushing it right now.
I almost said maybe X-Men 97 has an argument, but then I thought the best episode of X-Men 97, which is still one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen, episode 5, Remember It, the one with Genosha. Even that is pretty close to what happens in Invincible in like every episode, and it always has weight.
Yeah.
That's how good Invincible is.
Yeah. Okay. You got any other Invincible thoughts?
I don't. Just can't wait for the next one.
Yep. It stinks we're halfway through the season. I hate that. After 2 weeks, you're halfway through the season. Yeah, there's only 8 episodes.
Oh my God.
And they dropped 3 the first week, so then by the second week, you're halfway through. And it's like, this is just like not enough.
What the hell? I mean, I know animation
8 episodes is not enough for a season. And that's like what the standard has become for shows. It needs to be at least 10. At least.
I like that the quality is so high. I mean, they think of shows as like miniature movies nowadays. And that's great, but make them in bigger portions because I'm addicted.
Especially, not to like make you know, people aren't working hard enough, blah, blah, blah. But especially when you take 2 years or more between seasons, seems like you should be able to put out at least like 10 episodes. And that's what I say about The Boys also, right? The Boys gives us like one season every 2.5 years, and they can't give more than 8 episodes in a season. Like, that's crazy. Zach, they used to be putting out 24 episodes of 24 every single year.
That's right.
Okay, Fantastic Four trailer.
Fantastic Four trailer. I don't remember that much of what actually happens in it. What stood out to me was the feel. It looks and feels different from any MCU movie we've ever gotten, and that made me optimistic.
It's not set in the main universe.
I know, but you know they're going to come over to it.
Yep. Galactus shows up. He's looking very cool. I'm excited. Here's my theory. I think that
he's going to eat their Earth.
Well, definitely. I think he's definitely going to destroy the Earth, and they're going to have to pop over. I think that this is going to be the ultimate Reed Richards. I think that this is the ultimate universe that we are going to go in, that it's going to be set in. And I think that this Reed Richards is going to turn into the Maker. And I think that Tony Stark's Dr. Doom, or Robert Downey Jr., is going to be maybe not a hero, but he's going to be against that. And that's how we're still going to keep Robert Downey Jr. as like kind of a hero, and it's going to turn everyone that sees the Fantastic Four, right, and thinks that they're going to come over and be the heroes. I think that he's going to actually end up being the villain. I think there's just too much going on right now in the Ultimate Universe being at like the forefront of Marvel Comics that they're not doing something with it, bringing the Fantastic Four over.
Wow.
I know.
You sound so delusional to me.
Really?
But
really?
Here's the thing. We're 2 years away from this happening. Watch you be right. You might be right. I don't know. I don't know what Kevin Feige is doing at any given time. But I think it's optimistic to think that the Marvel Studios is taking direction from the comics instead of forcing their own direction upon the comics.
Well, hasn't a lot of their direction come from the Ultimate Universe?
Yes, but here's the other thing. There's a very common fan theory out there that if they are to do a Maker, they already have 2 previous actors who have played Reed Richards. And one of them has gotten more popular since doing it, in Miles Teller.
Oh, I hope that's not. I hope not.
I mean, is it any sillier than Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man and Dr. Doom?
Well, I just didn't care about that Fantastic Four at all.
Dude, I didn't even see that Fantastic Four.
Yeah. That's the other thing is nobody cares that's only watched the movies. Nobody cares that Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four are like the biggest heroes ever, because I think it's much more interesting what's going on with him turning into a villain, right? Because the first movies he was in, he's just a big stretchy man. Who cares? You know? So I think that they could take that risk a little easier than like, right, if they, I don't know, if he was like a beloved hero already and then they turn, it's easier to just throw him in and be like, oh yeah, he's usually a hero, but something's going to happen at the end, right? Galactus is going to kill everyone and he's going to become a villain trying to like save his world or something.
Here's another reason I don't think that's the case is Pedro Pascal is a big teddy bear. Everyone loves him. You can't look at him and see a threat.
Yep. I know. Like, I thought that too. I'm like, but Pedro Pascal is such a good guy.
you could put a frown and a big scar across the eye of the other two Mr. Fantastic actor guys. I don't know the Ian guy's name. It's like Dutch or something, right?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
You could make them look scary and intimidating. You could not do that to Pedro Pascal. No one would take it seriously.
I'm excited for what they're going to do. We're talking about it, Zach.
That's right. All press is good press.
I think this Robert Downey Jr. casting was awesome. That happened like a year ago.
Yeah, we are.
I'm just so excited for the Fantastic Four and the Doctor Doom stuff.
Here we are still talking about it today. It was announced a year ago, and we're like 2 years away from seeing it. And we're still like, I can't think about anything else other than Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doom.
What's he going to do? Okay. Dang. When's the Fantastic Four movie come out?
This year.
Okay, so we're not 2 years away. I think Doom is showing up, and I think Robert Downey Jr. is showing up, at least in a post-credit scene.
I bet it is a post-credit scene. Here's what I'm going to say. I bet it's like how they teased Thanos, where it'll be like his back and you'll just see a green cloak and he's like watching a screen and he's going to be like, I guess it's time for them to meet their doom. And it'll be Robert Downey Jr.'s voice, but you'll never see the face.
That'd be awesome. You're probably right. It's probably going to be something exactly like that. Okay, what else? There's been so much.
There has been. So,
and we're right at an hour and a half almost. I know that's our...
Well, and I'm going to cut a lot, so we're actually below that.
Okay.
I'll say my thing.
You're going to say it now? We're not going to wait?
I had two things.
Two things.
So I'll give this fair warning. We are nominally a family show. We censor ourselves so that we don't have to tell the podcast distributors that we're an explicit show. So if you are a child or if you're listening with your child, the episode's over. We'll see you. We'll see you next week. Swing on by, webheads. With that said, John.
Yes.
This is going to sound so bad. I can't wait for this to be on the... Oh,
this is... Zach's about to say something about sex. We briefly touched on this before. This is what you were talking about. Yes, Zach, do go on.
I love that this is going to be on the internet forever. Do you know what Jerkmate Ranked is?
No.
I was going to say, surely you don't, because you're better at not being on social media. It's this...
Jerkmate Ranked? Okay,
it's this meme that people made up, like the Goncharov movie. It doesn't exist, but people started just saying things as if it did. And it's people, you'll post like when me and bro log on together for Jerkmate Ranked duos, and it's like a highlight of Shaq and Kobe, you know, or there'll be like Kevin Ware crying on the basketball court, and it'll be like, when I get a season-ending foreskin tear.
Oh, Kevin Ware was the
guy who broke his leg.
That's mean.
It'll be like, the caption will be like, when I get a season-ending foreskin tear in the Jerkmate Ranked World Finals. There's all these memes about this thing that doesn't exist.
Okay.
So naturally, the good people at Jerkmate had to make it exist, right? So this week,
okay,
they created this thing. You don't have to do it right now. Don't ever do it on like a work computer or whatever.
I'm not gonna type in Jerkmate to any of my computers.
If you go to jerkmateranked.com, it is now actually a pretty innocuous game. There's no nudity. There's no advertisements for nudity. It's only sexual in that it's an explicit advertisement for a porn company. But it's just this little game where you click, and your clicking makes your guy on the screen, who's just a little cute cartoon. He's theoretically jacking off, but you don't see anything. And you're like building up your FAPS per second, and you're raising your stamina score, and you're going through the ranks. John, let me take you through these ranks.
So what's your high score, Zach?
There's unranked, bronze beater, silver stroker, golden gooner, emerald edger, platinum polar, and then the top rank is grandmaster baiter.
This is terrible.
So because I like the joke so much, I think it's so funny on social media. It's a big hit in my fantasy chat.
A lot of masturbation talk today. Don't forget you also mentioned the thing. Getting his rocks off.
Because it's on the mind. I'm sorry. So anyways, I started playing Jerkmate Ranked just for the meme of being number one in the world. Because this is a game you either play for 1 second and say, oh, that's kind of funny that they made it. Or you play nonstop so you can become the world champ because it's funny to be the world champ of something.
And that's what you're doing?
That's what I'm doing. I told my wife I will never be like better than average at like Halo or Madden or anything. This is the only game in the world I could possibly become the best at, because it's just a matter of leaving your browser open. All you have to do is have an uninterrupted Wi-Fi connection and the patience to let this thing run. And you're not actually doing anything, right?
So are you building up your endurance and your stamina?
I am. So I am at stamina level 154, at one point, and this is the other thing that I don't like. The game is called Jerkmate Ranked, John. They don't have a way to see the leaderboard. You can't actually see your rank. The only way to tell...
you can't even become the highest.
Well, the only way to tell is you can share on Twitter, and you can see what other people have shared on Twitter on their scores. So I'm literally scrolling through Twitter, searching Jerkmate Ranked, seeing what other people's scores are. And at one point, I thought the world record was 134, and I was really happy when I beat it.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So I thought I was the world champion already, and I was just extending my streak. Thank God I haven't logged out yet, because there's someone at 300. So I'm trying to catch him.
And
my guy, you can buy up like automatic strokes. I hate.
So you spent real money on this?
No.
Oh my, thank the Lord.
That would be so irresponsible. Hey babe, what happened to our savings?
It's in this automatic strokes.
So my guy is fapping at 3.47 quadrillion strokes per second. And the loading bar is going so slowly, it takes over an hour to progress past a level now. I'm just leaving this open while I sleep at night. I was leaving it open while you were doing your issues.
Okay,
I'm just trying to become
ways to go.
I'm just trying to become the meme king, John. I just want to have the funniest two truths and a lie on Earth.
I love it. Good luck.
One thing about me is I'm always chasing stupid side quests. If there's something out there that I can achieve and it's kind of funny,
okay,
I'm going to do it.
Well, every week we will have to see where you're at. And if you found a higher level on Twitter, right, until you stop doing this.
It's going to be when my phone restarts. It keeps trying to restart, and I'm like telling it no.
What was I about to say? Oh, like 2 weeks ago when Zach and I went out, Alyssa or Shyla or your cousin, one of them was talking about how they don't listen to our podcast because all we do is talk about goblin cock. And I said, that was like one episode, like 2 years ago that was mentioned. We don't talk about stuff like that anymore. And then in the very next issue, I mean, you can't make it up.
I'm sorry. It's just funny, John. Sue me. I think it's funny. And I want to be on the internet forever being associated with the word Jerkmate Ranked.
I love it. Okay. I can't wait to hear where this goes.
Okay.
Surely we can't end it on that. We have to think of some other thing to talk about before we can leave the webheads for the week.
What, was it not good? Did you not?
No, I just don't want
finish.
No, okay, that was pretty funny. Is there anything else? Zach, in the new Captain America movie, they mention adamantium. And everyone got to point at the screen. And so, that's what Wolverine's claws are made out of.
I'm sure a whole host of wives got mansplained in that moment.
So, dude, by the way, that Wolverine is in that. Wait, Wolverine's not already in this universe? Well, no, he's in a different universe. He's not in this universe. But he was with Deadpool. Well, that was kind of in a different universe already, and then they might come into this one, and it's all different. Okay, he's not in this one.
Is he gonna sing songs? I like the Hugh Jackman movies where he sings songs.
He was in The Prestige, wasn't he? Where he was more than one Hugh Jackmans at the same time.
Did you know he's Australian?
All right.
I never go to the movies anymore, but every time I do, I'm sitting between two of those couples.
Yeah. That was me to my mom yesterday.
That's funny.
Okay. Should we send it out?
I feel like I had something else. Oh, okay. One thing about movies that I'm really appreciating right now. I don't know if you've noticed this trend, because once it happens 3 times, it's a thing. Okay? So last year they did Megaopolis, right? A movie.
Which you haven't seen.
It's not on streaming yet. I'm not going to pay full price for it. But a groundbreaking movie, to be sure, from everything I would expect from it, about an architect who wants to rebuild a city, right? Then we had The Brutalist, which I also haven't seen, but I'm sure is great. About an architect who brings brutalism to the forefront, right?
Wow, for a guy with an architecture bit, you're really slacking right now.
And now in
Zach,
the new...
That reminds me. We're like driving around downtown 2 weeks ago, and Zach's like, look at the beauty of the downtown architecture. And it's just a big gray building. There's no beauty involved at all. Anyway.
Okay.
Do go on.
Everyone hates when I do architecture tours, but it's my favorite thing.
Yeah, okay. There's more architecture movies that you're not going to watch?
I did watch this one. Adam Eve is enrolled in architecture and engineering classes, so she can build stuff with her powers, and that's just one more reason that the Invincible universe is so smart, is because you've got a superhero who, on the surface, is like, her powers are limitless, right? She can do anything. And most of the time, they would use that as shorthand for she can do anything. But she doesn't actually have the knowledge of how to make solid structures.
Go to school.
And they acknowledge that.
Yeah. Eve, you got to learn, you got to build with triangles. Okay. She's probably just trying to put straight beams up. No. Triangles are the strongest shape.
They are.
Dude, remember when Elon Musk did that big Nazi salute like a week ago?
That was a month ago.
Was it?
Yeah. Why?
Man, I don't know. I just thought of it when I made the triangle. When I made the triangle sign and I saw myself. It looks nothing like a Nazi salute, obviously, but it just made me think of it. We haven't talked about that.
John, he was throwing his heart out to us. Guy's a big
Nazi.
He was saying, my heart is with you. Isn't that how you do it?
I think it's so funny when they're, you just give a big Nazi salute 2 different times, and then you're like, come on, liberals. Oh, everybody's a Nazi now. Oh, just because I went up in front of people and said, you're the reason that the civilization is going to get saved, and I did a couple big Nazi salutes. Everybody thinks I'm a Nazi nowadays. You just can't do anything.
And he's also literally meddling with like German politics the same way he did ours. And he told them, he gave a speech and he's like, you have nothing to be ashamed of for your past. Stop making people make you feel bad about things. We need this strong conservative party in Germany again. Yeah, man. It's surprise. If I had a nickel for every high profile Nazi we've had in the news in the last few weeks, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's more than I'm comfortable with.
If I had a nickel every time someone in the Conservative Party went up and did a big Heil Hitler sign and then said that the libs were overreacting, you'd have like 4 at this point. I mean, you're making pretty good money.
Yeah. Put that on FanDuel.
There you go. Okay. Now are we done? Now, do we have anything else? Are there any more Nazis in the news?
Let's see here. Yeah.
Are there any more comic book things that happened?
Masturbation, Nazis, architecture. I think we got everything. That's like what a podcast sets out to be, right?
We've done it. And remember this time, webheads, when I'm talking about ways to contact us, the first person who writes in wanting my awesome homemade Captain America shirt with the line, "You've got to do better, Senator," written on the back, gets it.
You'll probably have to pay for shipping, right?
I kind of just figured I'd pay. It was, it was what, like $5 or $10 probably.
Rich Uncle Pennybags over here.
Yes. Yep. You don't even have to pay for shipping.
Yeah. Run, don't walk. And if you order now, you get the Ginsu knives too.
All right. Thank you to Ian Hickey for the music and Alyssa Seaman for the artwork. And thank you all for listening and leaving us a review or a comment. You can find us, the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else you find podcasts. And you can leave us a message on Instagram at First Read Podcast. Send us an email at firstreadspidey@gmail.com or find us on YouTube, the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast. Swing on by next week.
See ya.